Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pivot Point DFS presented by FanDuel on the Believe Network, part of the Old Man Squad Sports Network. I am your host, Keith Cork. And I'm here to break down another NBA Friday, NBA Cup set of games for you guys. Hopefully, a little bit more, a lot more successful than the last couple of slates. I know a couple times ago, it did not go very well at all. And then this past time, again, not very good. We'll go ahead and review real quick, what happened in that last one, if I can get the correct thing here. Oops, that's not what I want. How's everyone doing? It's Friday. Well, it's Thursday night, technically. I'm recording this on Thursday night. As always, this is a early look at the slate. So, maybe a little superficial to begin with, right? It's not going to be like, I'm not going to give you all the incredible value guys that you're going to get, when it comes up to lock and things like that. Instead, we're going to talk about what we're seeing, early on, who we want to be on. Talk in general about, the spend ups on the slate, who's a good spend up, who's in a good spot, what the game environments are, which games we want to target. Things of that nature are more important to us at this juncture. But let's go ahead and take a look at that last slate that I, gave you guys. And, it's been a while, so I don't recall exactly what all went down here, but obviously there were some, injury replacements that happened as we got closer to lock. I know Ron Holland was a guy I believe I was talking about all day, or I've been talking about him quite a bit, but he absolutely just crapped the bed. Didn't do anything. I ended up 509th out of 700 and what is it? 700. Yeah, how many people are in this one? 583. So almost absolutely last again. Almost as bad as the one previously. So two very horrible podcast suggestions, of course. All I can say is, I hope we turn it around. This is DFS. This is GPP, right? So we are trying to aim for upside, not necessarily the safe bets or the, we're not trying to hit the min cash line or anything like that. We're trying to get the number one overall. But Trey Mann definitely, ended up being a good play. Ended up being a guy, I believe, that opened up with some value. I think it was LaMelo Ball was ruled out near the end there. Norm Powell was one of the guys that was touting that not a lot of people were on. He had an okay game, a decent game. He is pretty much the engine of that offense in Miami. So not too upset about that one. Ron Holland, as I said, just absolutely crapped the bed. Michael Porter Jr. was, a guy that we should have all pretty much been on at his $7K salary. Did just fine. They're about 40 DK points, no problem there. I ended up on Porzingis as kind of the last guy in. It wasn't really a guy I was looking to get in my lineups, but I believe in that Toronto game, Pirtle was sitting out, so maybe that's one of the reasons that pushed me over the edge. He had a fantastic game at 6.7K, but I wasn't able to carry me through. Cooper Flagg was the guy I was really all over, and I wanted to get him in my lineups. He was only 2.9% owned, which makes me happy. But yeah, at this point, I have to just kind of accept the fact that, he's just not ready yet. Those big games will come. He'll have some nice games. But, stuff we saw in the Summer League and stuff we saw previously where he played pros, in non-NBA games, we have to take that with a grain of salt at this point and just say, you know what, that's not who he is yet. He's got quite a long way to go. So I will be off Cooper Flagg for the time being. With Anthony Davis being out, I figured somebody had to step up. But really what has happened is that Dallas team has just really struggled to score. Their offense has not clicked yet. They're still searching for answers, which we'll talk about here on this slate. But yeah, not very good. Miles Bridges, not a great play either, but not bad. 41 points on 8.6K salary, not bad at all. The one that really killed me and sunk me was Daniel Gafford, and a lot of people were on him. It looks like over a quarter of the field was on him. Obviously, no Derek Lively, no Anthony Davis up against Memphis. Really didn't think there was rim protection there. I really thought he was going to have a fantastic game. He ended up with one rebound in that game. One rebound. I believe he did leave after about 12 minutes, I believe I want to say, with an ankle injury. He played 12 minutes in that game, ankle injury. But even before that, he wasn't doing anything. So I don't have any confidence he would have been a smash play. So there it was. That was the lineup I ended up rolling out there for the last pod. We are now 0 for 3 on these pods. The first one, very, very close to the money line, and the last two, absolutely nowhere close at all. So we've got a lot of work to do. Let's take a look at what did end up winning the slate. Bub Carrington, Trey Johnson, Con Knuppel, who's a guy I haven't been on at all this season, and it's really hurt me, obviously. At some point, he's got to slow down. He's a shooter. He's been absolutely hot to start the season. Maybe he is just this good, and he's going to be incredible for his entire career. Typically, that's not the case for NBA players. Typically, they go through their ups and downs, especially when they're shooters. But we'll see. Michael Porter Jr. was in there, so that's good. Noah Clowney was a guy that I considered swapping at the end because I think the news came out he was going to have a surprise start. A lot of people were on him. He ended up crushing, 3.9K salary. Really, really hard to overcome that. John Morant had a big one in that game, which is crazy. And then Giannis, we'll talk about this in this slate here, but one thing I missed with Giannis was that they were really treating him with kid gloves until this NBA Cup game when they kind of took those off and let him play a full allotment of minutes, and he absolutely crushed it, 81.25 DK points. People were on that. I was not. Trey Mann was also in this lineup, which was in my lineup as well, but almost everyone had him. Almost 3/4 of the field had him in their lineup. So that's what took down the $2,000 jackpot there. Probably would have never ended up on either of these Wizards players, Bub Carrington or Trey Johnson. I can't bring myself to trust those guys. At some point you do have to take your shots, especially in GPPs. So, we'll talk a little bit about a situation in this slate that we'll be looking at where that is the case. But it is scary, and there's no way I would double up on them. I might end up on Bub Carrington or Trey Johnson as like a last guy in or a cost saver. One was 4K and the other one was 4.2K. But there's no way I was going to end up with those guys. So don't feel too bad that I didn't take this one down. But we'll look to recover. And we'll look to blast off. It's been a very slow start to the NBA season for me. No doubt about it. My bets, I think I'm down about, let's see here. I am actually down after today, almost 3 units. I think it's 2.83 if I want to say it correctly, 2.85 units. So down 2.85 units in the betting. The DFS, I posted on Twitter a little while ago, but I had a couple lineups that were really close to actually taking down the whole thing already this season. And I went out like 110 and 120 bucks in both of those. And they were back-to-back days. I started to feel like, okay, I'm getting a little hot now. And outside of that, it's been crickets. Like, no, it's, I haven't really had any exciting lineup. So it is a bit discouraging, but we do trudge on. We are going to eventually be on the right guys. Kind of hit or miss, right? It's very hit or miss, and we're just going to have to keep plugging away until we get there. So without further to do, let's talk about the upcoming slate and what we have going on here. There we go. If I can get the right thing going here. Oh, that's not it. Way to go. Let's talk about the upcoming slate and what we've got going on here. Take a look at what we have. I'm going to clear this out. There we go. Perfect. Obviously NBA Cup slate. So, we can pretty much, I like these slates. I do. We know that people are going to play their full minutes. We know that blowouts are less impactful. So I think if you're one of those people that's more of a casual player and doesn't play a lot of slates, playing these slates does make a lot of sense. There's less inherent risk with, okay, they're up, 20 points or 15 points and they have a game, tomorrow or whatever. And so they're going to just sit their guys the last, 4 or 5 minutes, or their starters come out. So their backups are playing well. And so they're just going to, let the backups keep playing in that game and not put their stars back into that game. There's less of those shenanigans going on because the win margin does matter. And winning the NBA Cup to some of these players, or most of these players, does matter as well. There is a monetary, element to it, as well as the fact that it's just pride, right? It's like a playoff game. So So, I do like these slates a lot. Have some interesting spots here. I know things are going to change between now and when this tips off. So please don't take this as gospel. Again, it is an early look. We are just talking about what we see right now and what was jumping out to us early on in this slate. And I will update you guys. I just actually opened a Discord channel in the Old Man Squad Sports Network Discord server that you guys can chat with me, and I will share any updates I have in there. And I will try to do it on Twitter for the time being as well, but I do eventually want to get everything into that Discord mostly. Just keep it, all in one place, keep it a little bit more exclusive, not put it out there as much, maybe, use my Twitter feed for actual personal stuff and tell people about my day and my life, because that's what people want to know about, right? Jokes. Okay, let's start. We're going to talk about every game here. Miami at New York. Currently, we have New York as a 4.5 favorite in this game. People are steaming the Heat because there's no Jalen Brunson, which makes sense. No question marks there. 236.5 is the game total, and it's boosting way up actually, which is surprising. That game total, it keeps moving upwards, and it's moving up at a pretty good rate. It started in the 220s, but even without Brunson or Adebayo, the total is going up. So definitely need to have some interest in this game. What we've seen with this Heat team so far is that they don't play a lot of defense, which is definitely new for that organization. And the Knicks also have not been a particularly good defensive unit either. So it could be a really good game to stack, honestly. And I have no problem with these Miami guys if you want to go with a game stack. But if we're not looking to stack this game, I'm really not interested, because with this Miami team, we've had guys in and out of this lineup. We've had Norman Powell miss some games. We've had, I don't think Wiggins has missed any games, but obviously Adebayo's missed some games. So, their salaries are boosted compared to what they were or what they should be, or what's a fair price for them. So, most of these guys are boosted here. I don't think you're getting a whole lot of value on any of these guys. So, it is an 8-game slate. I don't think you need to necessarily go to any of these guys at all. But, if you want to grab like a Davion Mitchell who's been playing well, he's only 5.3K. Or if you want to grab a Jaime Jaquez who's, been a really good offensive player for this team, and more often than not recently. You want to grab yourself Norman Powell or Andrew Wiggins. Sure. I think it makes more sense in the game stack. The New York side is the one that clearly has the way more interesting angles here. And the reason is, no Jalen Brunson, of course. No Jalen Brunson in this game, and they're up against Miami, who's proven to be not just not a good defensive team, but one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA this season so far. So who's going to fill in for Brunson? And this is where things get kind of tricky, because you're going to have to take stabs, and there's really no guarantee that any of these guys is going to handle it by themselves, or there's no guarantee of which guy's going to pop and which guy's not. But obviously, Deuce McBride's going to be a pretty popular choice, and he's 4.8K. I have no problems with it. He could absolutely be the next man up and the guy that enters the starting lineup. We used to have Thibodeau, and we would know what his rotations looked like, and he would play his starters incredible minutes, and he loved Deuce McBride. He would play Deuce McBride anytime they were down a starter. But it's Mike Brown now. It's not Thibodeau. And so we don't have that assurance. So we can't play it like, we're confident that this guy's going to fill in. So, I don't want to go over the moon on that one. If you're playing multiple lineups, you don't want to have McBride in every single one. But in a single, you're going to have to choose one of these guys. And if you wanted to, I think the safest one to me would be McBride. Probably the one with the most upside is going to be Jordan Clarkson. But he also carries the most risk. As you can see, minutes have been up and down. He hasn't gotten any more than 21 minutes in the season thus far. But in those minutes, you see the points per minute that he's able to produce: 19.8 in just 21 minutes, 22 fantasy points in just 18 minutes, 20.8 fantasy points in just 17 minutes. So if he can creep up to that 22 to 25 minute range, which is feasible without Jalen Brunson, you could be looking at close to 25, DK points from a guy that's 4.2K. That's a good play, right? And he does have that upside if, for whatever reason he catches fire and they decide to play him 30 minutes, he could, go for 40 DK points on 4.2K salary. He could break the slate. So he's a volatile guy that is very interesting. Another guy you do have to consider, though, at and especially because of his price tag, is Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet is 3.9K. Been in the starting lineup, I believe, the last several games, but he's been shifting in and out of the starting lineup. And, the upside's pretty capped, but he is only 3.9K. If his shot's falling, his 3-point shot's falling, he has some upside to have a pretty decent game. Like in this game right here, he shot 4 of 9 from beyond the 3 and had 24.8 DK points against the Milwaukee Bucks. So there is potential here for him to hit value. It is less likely. He's the least favorite of these three kind of filling guys for Jalen Brunson that I like. But he is somebody that you should still be considering. And you know what? If you end up having 3.9K left and he's the one that fits in your lineup, I don't think there's an issue with just plopping him in there. But yeah, I think those three guys, I think the one thing though that we can take away is that Cat is basically a lock. I mean, if you can get him in, if he works for you, and there are other guys. I try to get him to fit in, and I may end up going back to him. But there's another guy I really want to get in that's more expensive. He's borderline lock for me. He's not a lock. I will tell you my locks at the end, of course. But he is borderline. He's very close. No Jalen Brunson. I mean, they're going to have to lean on him pretty heavily. It's a nice matchup against Miami. They don't have Bam Adebayo to guard him, so it's going to be Khalil Ware. Nothing about this scares me. I think Karl-Anthony Towns is a very, very solid play. And if you want to just lock him in, I don't blame you. I think it's fine. Before another interesting guy, but before when we had Thibodeau, we would know that Josh Hart, without any of the starters, would end up playing 40 minutes. And that's just not happening with Mike Brown. He's probably going to get 30 minutes ish. Definitely still interesting at 5.9K, but just not the same role as previous years thus far. He's starting to turn around, starting to play better. But we haven't seen like that, triple double upside. He's had triple doubles before. And we haven't seen that upside yet this season. So he is out of my player pool for the time being, but just an interesting guy to kind of keep our eye on in this one to see how he does. Up next, we have Brooklyn at Orlando. Brooklyn is just going to get smoked here. It's a 14.5 point spread. Orlando's really starting to click down on offense, which we all knew that was going to happen at some point. It did happen sooner rather than later, which is nice for them. 66% of the bets are on Orlando, but no movement yet. 73% of the bets are on the over with no movement either for that total game total. But it's probably not really that important because there's probably not a lot of action yet on this game. I don't see this as being a game people are going out of their ways to bet early or often. So it's probably just very minimal bets. So I wouldn't take the movement too seriously here. But a 14.5 point spread, that's pretty brutal. Makes me want to kind of fade this, but I think there are some interesting pieces here. Even on the Nets side, I do think Noah Clowney, who entered the starting lineup and seems to be a guy that they're looking to feature this season, he's only 4.8K and has, as you can see, 30 to 40 point DK point upside. So, I don't think there's an issue playing him. I think, it's definitely risky. He is still Noah Clowney, and this is Orlando, a very good defense that they're up against. And but I do think his minutes are relatively safe. So I think he's definitely safer and a more solid play than most people are going to think. So, there's going to be leverage there. And you're probably, if you want to be on him, you're going to be over the field. So I do like him. Nick Claxton at 6.8K has slow start to the season. I was a little worried about those minutes that we saw at the beginning, 23, 26, 23, 29. But they're starting to climb into the 30s now. And it seems like they are playing him his full allotment of minutes. Going up against Wendell Carter Jr. in this one. So it's a nice matchup for sure. I think he's a sneaky play. I think he'll be a low-owned play. I don't think these Nets are going to be high-owned at all. So if you want to get different from the field, I think that both of those guys are, pretty solid choices. So maybe they do keep it close. Maybe they don't. If they don't, maybe Claxton doesn't get his full minutes. I think Clowney does either way. So Clowney would be the one I'm more sure about. On the Orlando side, maybe not super sneaky. I'm really not sure if people are going to be on him or not on this slate because I think there's other value people are going to glom onto. But Jalen Suggs at 5.1K, we did see that minutes restriction lifted in the game on the 9th of November. And then this last game, he had only 26 minutes, but that's because he was in foul trouble. He ended up sitting. He got 3 pretty quick fouls, ended up sitting most of that first half. And then there's no Paulo Banchero here, and he was much more involved in the offensive. I was watching that game because I had a bet on his over, his points, rebounds, and assists over, which he ended up 1 or 0.5 short. I got the hook on that one, but no, without Paulo Banchero, he was much more involved in the offense, which could be a bad thing because he could end up committing offensive fouls. He likes to run into people on the offensive end for some reason. But I think we can safely say that he's going to be pretty heavily involved on the offensive side. We know he's an absolute spark. This is against the Nets, so steals are definitely on the table. So the hustle stats will be there, steals and rebounds. I'm loving Jalen Suggs here. He's 5.1K, a little bit more expensive than those, for instance, those New York guys. 4.8K for Deuce McBride, but I think it's definitely worth it. So I like Suggs. He should be a lock for near 30 minutes in an NBA Cup game. Absolutely. No Paulo Banchero, though. So Franz Wagner, obviously, he's going to be a core play for pretty much everybody, I think. No problems at all. I think it's totally good. A-okay with that. Should get 40 to 50 DK points pretty handily. And if the Nets do end up, keeping us somewhat close and competitive, then he could absolutely explode. But, at this point, I don't view him as a must roster. Very borderline, though. Borderline. I think he's close to it. But there's just so many spend ups I do like on the slate, and there's a couple that I like a little bit more. So, I do think he's going to be very popular, though. I would consider Tristan Da Silva. Tristan Thompson. Wow, that's a name. Tristan Da Silva, but his salary climbed from 3.8K to 4.5K, and I just don't think that's worth it. We've seen him have some pretty nice games before, 32.5 DK points back on the 4th of November. But it's pretty lucky. He had 20 points in that game. He shot 8 of 11 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3. We can't predict that. We can't project that. I'm not buying it. I think he ends up somewhere in the 15 to 20 DK point range, and that's just not exciting to me. So I'm not much on him. But I did want to mention him because he is an interesting name to monitor. I'm going to be watching his box score in this one for sure. Philadelphia and Detroit. This is an interesting game. It's a 5.5 point spread. So less than the 7 points that we're looking for usually in betting. It is a 232.5 game total. So not too bad. No Embiid on the Philadelphia side. So everyone gets a bump, basically. Pretty sizable bump, too. Potentially no Edgecombe, which is even more interesting because we've seen games without Embiid, but I believe Edgecombe's played every game this season. Let me just double check real quick. He's played, as far as I can tell, every game. So this will be the first game, if he does not play, that we will see. I would say Maxey is a very safe bet. He is 10.5K, which is going to keep his ownership down and going to keep him from being like a lock for anybody. But it does make him a very nice tournament play. It's not the best matchup in the world against the Detroit Pistons, obviously. And not the highest game total, of course, either. But it is still a really good spot. Without Embiid in a cup game, I don't see an issue with playing him. Grimes is an interesting guy as well. If we do get Edgecombe sitting, I'll be looking more heavily at Grimes. He is 6.4K, so he's not cheap by any means. But we've seen him pop here. 46.8 points, 54.5 DK points. I've always liked this kid's game. Definitely an offense player that is necessary on this Philadelphia offense. So, I think he's decent enough. I think you can play him. Kelly Oubre is another one, right? And it's like one of those two guys is probably going to pop. They're going to go insane and put up a 50-plus DK point game. Who knows? But probably one of them is going to get like 35, right? They have to. There's no Embiid. Someone's got to step up. And it's not going to be Trendon Watford. Probably not going to be Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond's he's pretty consistent. He's going to score double-digit points, double-digit rebounds. He'll get you that double-double bonus. But we're seeing, somewhere in like the 35, maybe 40's popping for him, right? 40's popping. So 5.7, if we want 6x value, we can pretty much pencil him in for 6x value. So he's not a bad play. Not a bad play. But he doesn't excite me, to be honest. There's other centers that I really want to play. So I'm not going to end up on Drummond. I think he's fine. The Detroit side is very appealing to me. And I'm going to start at the center position. Jalen Duren. Play Jalen Duren. Play Jalen Duren. Just talked about Andre Drummond, who's going to be the starting center here. No Embiid. Do you know how many bunnies Andre Drummond has missed in his career? He's one of the worst big men at finishing at the rim ever in the history of the NBA. And you want to talk about his rebounding numbers. He's the best rebounder in the NBA. A lot of those rebounds come off of his own misses. A lot of them. Play Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren's rebound prop is already at 13.5. And I would still play the over. I might. I'm going to look more at it after I'm done recording this. But you should play Jalen Duren. He's going to be in my lineups. 8.3K. Little pricey for sure. But we've seen him. He's been hot the last several games, and I just love this matchup. I think the rebounds are going to be safe. He's going to grab probably 15 plus rebounds, I would think. Right? And Andre Drummond's not a rim protector. There's not a rim protector really on this Sixers team. Unless I'm forgetting about somebody. They've got some length, sure. Barlow's not a rim protector. Watford's got some length, but they've got length, but it's more like passing lane length. It's not like defend the rim. There's not somebody that's like imposing at the rim. So play Jalen Duren. That's my advice. Austin Thompson also is going to be out for this one too, so that does help everybody as well. That helps Duren too. Cade and Duren are questionable, but I do expect them to play. It's an NBA Cup game. I expect those guys to play for sure. We'll see, but I would give it like a 90% chance they're going to play. So let's move on though. Excuse me, to the Portland and Houston game. Interesting one as well. This is I from a basketball standpoint, really interesting. From a DFS standpoint, not super interesting, honestly, but 235.5 is the total, and it's falling. It's coming down. Houston's an 8.5 point favorite. I don't know about that, guys. 8.5 points. I might have to go bet Portland plus 8.5. Portland's not a bad team. I think they can hang with this Houston squad. Nobody like significant is out. Scoot Henderson's out, but that's probably better for them, honestly. He has not been good in his NBA career. I was way off on that guy. Drew Holiday's been freaking phenomenal. He's been a godsend. He's 7.5K here. Given the matchup with Amen Thompson. My gosh, guys, we get Drew Holiday against Amen Thompson tomorrow night. That's if you like basketball, you'll like that one for sure. Very interesting. Very interesting. Shaedon Sharp's been absolutely incredible. Been absolutely going off. Then you got guys. I love Toumani Camara. I think he's going to be a really nice role player in this league for a long time. Denny Avdija, obviously, we all know, he's been putting up big numbers here and there. Definitely was wrong about that guy too. I didn't think he was that impressive in Washington, but he's playing for a team that's slightly over 500 now, a competitive team, and He's holding it down, man. Doing well. I'm not as big of a Cleveland fan as other people are. Robert Williams is getting like 15 minutes a game, so you can't really consider him. I don't think there's really much here for DFS. The one guy I will point out, with this being an NBA Cup game, that really intrigues me is Jeremy Grant at 5.5K coming off the bench, but he could be a lock. He should be a lock for 30 plus minutes. With this being, an NBA Cup game. Let's see. The last game was 11-7. I guess they didn't play in that last one, but 10:31 was a cup game as well. You got 32 minutes. 32 minutes in their last NBA Cup game. Yep. I mean, ejected in that last game, but we should see 30 plus minutes. No doubt. Borderline lock. I mean, I'm talking myself even more into liking him. Pretty much a lock to get 25 plus DK points. He's 5.5K. So we're looking at a lock to get 5 to 6x value. Doesn't sound like a lot, but he does have some upside there. He's going to be out there playing against Kevin Durant and stuff. I mean, I like it. I like Jeremy Grant here. I don't think a lot of people are going to be on him either. On the Houston side, Reed Shepherd's still mispriced. I mean, Reed Shepherd is just too cheap for what his role has evolved to be pretty quickly here this season. In the last 3 games, he hasn't gotten less than 25 minutes. He hasn't scored less than 28.5 DK points. Everyone was freaking out about the Rockets going big, rolling out those big lineups and thinking Reed Shepherd was kind of cooked, but that does not appear to be the case. It appears that Reed Shepherd is here to stay, and he's here to play a big role on this Houston team, which they need. With no Fred VanVleet, they need that for sure. So I love Reed Shepherd here. No questions about his role at all anymore. The rest of Houston guys, take him or leave him. I'm in Durant, Smith Jr., Şengün. I love these guys on smaller slates, but with this being such a large slate, there's other guys I like more. I'm not that excited about any of those guys. Moving on to the Hornets and the Milwaukee Bucks. Kalkbrenner, congratulations, my friend. New daddy, new baby. He will be out, which will pave the way for Musa Diabate to play, probably around 25 minutes. I don't think he's a guy you can push into, 35 minutes or anything like that. It's just not going to happen. Charlotte should go smaller here at times. But if you remember from previous seasons, if you've been following me at all in the DFS space, I love playing centers against Milwaukee because they end up getting out there to match up with Giannis. They end up being in good spots then to get rebounds. They end up being in good spots to secure blocks. They also end up in spots to get fouls, trying to guard him in the open floor. And or contest a shot, contest him, driving to the rim. So it's definitely a risky move, but I do like playing centers against this Milwaukee team. Have always, I should say. It's a different Milwaukee team than in the past, but we should see plenty of full helping Giannis, as I said, tonight. So I do think Musa Diabate is a really, really solid play. Let's see, 4.2K. To get to 6x value, he would have to score 25.2 DK points. We can see he's done that pretty consistently. Don't think there's a problem there at all. LaMelo is probable, which also helps Diabate because he can get lobs at the rim from LaMelo. LaMelo's going to draw some defense, and he should get easier buckets. But thank goodness for LaMelo being back. Probably tomorrow night. And then on the other side of the ball, you got to find a way. Try to find a way to play Giannis. Have to. Didn't catch it before the last NBA Cup game, but now I know. Now we all know. 7th of November. Remember the 7th of November. He played 37 minutes, scored 81.2 DK points. Kid gloves were off, right? Kid gloves were off. He almost had a triple double. And you should expect the same thing tonight. For Friday's game against a pretty good opponent here in the Charlotte Hornets. So you got to find a way to play Giannis, I think. Absolutely. Sacramento versus Minnesota. For Milwaukee, I mean, when Giannis is going crazy like that, no one else gets any value. So I can't look at anybody else in Milwaukee. But for Sacramento, Minnesota, it's somewhat interesting. Just because Sacramento's a mess. They're a mess. Minnesota's 11.5 point favorites. 239.5 is the game total here. There's got to be some, parts of this game I'm going to get to. I just don't know what yet, guys. I really don't. And girls, guys and girls. So I'm not going to really suggest anything here. Sabonis is questionable. I'm going to think he plays, but I really just don't know. This Sacramento team is just dreadful. They've lost 4 in a row now. Had a 3-game loss streak earlier already. I feel bad, man. I mean, obviously, these are my guys, Levine and DeMar DeRozan, being a Bulls fan, but Westbrook over there. Oh my gosh. I just and I'm up against Minnesota too. Pretty good defensive team. I can't bring myself to do it. There's got to be it's a high game total. So there's got to be something that's going to be like. I think it's going to be on the Minnesota side. I don't know why Anthony Edwards is under 9K. I really don't. In a really good matchup here too. So he's a fantastic tournament play. I don't think a lot of people are going to end up on him, but we've seen him go nuclear in the past, and it's exactly the kind of game where he would, because it's an NBA Cup game, means more. Maybe Randall goes off, maybe Gobert, maybe Naz Reid finally turns it around and has a decent one. I'm okay with those guys. Probably less okay than putting in a Houston guy or something like that. But I mean, for me, it's just this game comes down to I'll play Ant. He might be my pivot. I don't know. We'll see how I feel when it comes closer to the lock and where we're standing with salary and everything like that. The Lakers against the Pelicans. Good God, the Pelicans are bad. The Pelicans are bad. It's 228.5 game total too. Pretty low game total. 10.5 point spread for the Lakers. Luka's a great tourney play. I know I've said that about 5 guys now, but everyone's going to be on Giannis. I fully expect that. I'm not being a single entry player. I'm not going to be on Luka. But if you're rolling out multiple lineups, you got to have some Luka. You can't full fade him. That'd be just insane and crazy. But Giannis is the way to go at the moment. I mean, there's $300 savings when you go to Giannis compared to Luka. Giannis has the more competitive and better game, even though neither should be a sweat. I mean, neither of these teams should lose. The Bucks should beat the Hornets pretty handily. The Lakers should beat the Pelicans pretty handily. The Pelicans are freaking dreadful. They're terrible. So Pelicans just aren't a real team right now. I will say for the Lakers, outside of Luka, Marcus Smart is really interesting. Where is he? He must be a small forward. He's listed as a small forward. Yeah. Interesting. He's a small forward only, which is interesting also. I would assume he'd be at least a shooting or a small forward, but I guess not. But nevertheless, he does seem to have locked into those minutes. Been playing pretty well. He had a really, really big game on the 10th. Had a couple of really, really not so good games, kind of bookending that. But the minutes are there. He should continue to see 25 plus minutes, I would say. And this is the kind of game where I want to play Marcus Smart, because Marcus Smart, in a filthy, ugly, probably turnover laden game. Steals are going to be there. Threes in transition buckets, more rebounds hopefully for him. I think this is a really good game environment for him, and he's only 5K. So I do like Marcus Smart here. Yeah, definitely. Ayton also looking pretty juicy. There's definitely associated risk here, but man, Ayton up against a depleted front court. I mean, I like Derek Queen, and we'll talk about him in a minute as well. But you have this Missy and Derek Queen, and we're going up against those guys with a big body that can score. I don't know, guys. He's had some really bad clunkers recently, which is going to keep ownership down. There's other centers I like more. But being that he sucked and this is GPP, I may end up on him. We'll see. Speaking of the other side, though, with Derek Queen saw 38 minutes in that last game, which is crazy. If we can say for sure he's going to see 30 plus minutes, not even 38, 30 plus minutes, like we can just lock him in for that. I say play him all day. 4.9K, no doubt about it. The issue is I just don't know, because Yves Missy was ejected from that game after 2 minutes, right? Which could have led to them playing Queen just all of his minutes. Because I mean, who else? Kevon Looney's out there. They gave him 8 minutes. I mean, yeah, why are you playing Kevon Looney on this team? Like, why do you even have Kevon Looney on this roster? What is this roster even? God, why? What is my life talking about this roster? Yeah, if we knew that Derek Queen's going to get a bunch of minutes, or we get some kind of coach quote that's like, okay, we're going to like unleash him or play him big minutes, or he's going to be a big factor for us, or what have you, then but then yeah, I'm going to have a lot more interest in him. Right now it's just too uncertain. I just don't know, but he is a guy I got my eye on. I'm going to continue to watch what he does in the box score here, and when I watch the games, obviously. Fears is also still sub 5K. I mean, it's the same guys for the Pelicans as I've been on this whole time. But he's he had started to climb a little bit with ownership coming up. He hasn't had a big game really since the 29th of October, it looks like. So it's been a while. But at 4.8K, he can definitely play off that salary, I think, especially against a Luka Doncic that does not play defense. I mean, he just takes plays off a lot. But Spears is the same price as Deuce McBride. And at this point, I just have to trust Deuce more. I mean, there's a good probability that Fears can, there's a fine enough probability that Fears could outscore Deuce. But for me, I think McBride has the better game environment. He's the same exact, position. So I have to make a choice between those two guys. I'm going to roll Deuce. So. And then the last game on the slate here, the Clippers against the Mavericks. And yeah, this is ugly. 218.5 is the game total. Ooh. For reference, that's about, I don't have all the totals here in front of me. I have most of them, but that's about 10 points less than the next highest one, or the next lowest one, I should say. And it's moving down, despite people betting the over. Crazy. This is an interesting game for sure. But that does cap our interest in DFS. The Clippers are a 3.5 point favorite in this one, so it is going to be a competitive game. So that has it going for it for sure. But for me, I'm not going to do the spend ups here, because why would you in a 8-game slate when the game total is that? Can James Harden go off? Sure. Who even would be the superstar on? I mean, I guess it's Cooper Flag, right? Can Cooper Flag go off? Probably not. I mean, we just talked about that, right? Anthony Davis is questionable for this one. So if he does play, that definitely changes everything. I don't expect he will play, though. I don't know if he ever, I mean, he might not play for the Mavericks again. They're trying to hold him out until he gets like, they can guarantee ownership that he's not going to get injured again. And why is that? Why don't they want him to get injured again? Because they're looking to trade him. Because they're looking to get out of this horrible situation that their previous GM that they just fired, Nico Harrison, got them in. So, yeah, I don't think he plays. Maybe he does. I don't know. Maybe he surprises me. That will change everything. But at the moment, I'm approaching it like he doesn't. For the Clipper side, I do like John Collins. He intrigues me at 5.4K. He has a new starting gig, and without Beal, being there, Beal's out for the season now with a surgery. He should be locked in for a starting gig for the rest of the season. This Clippers team is also not very good and doesn't really have a direction. They've lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row. One time I sucked 6 basketball games in a row. My guys. Does anyone get that reference? I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe will. Either way, I do like John Collins there. On the other side, and again, I'm not looking to spend up on the big spend up, so I'm looking at the cheap options here and the guys that are filling in and things like that. I do think Brandon Williams is interesting for sure at 5.4K. If he was 4.5K, I'd be way interested, but 5.4K, I'm a little interested. This team obviously struggling to find its identity on offense, struggling to find a way to get the ball popping, get the ball moving, struggling to find their starting point guard basically because Cooper Flag just can't do it right now. And I don't know if he ever can, but right now he definitely can't. And they've went to Brandon Williams, and Brandon Williams has rewarded them with pretty good play, pretty decent play. So I don't see any reason. They're not winning basketball games. That's the only reason they would switch it up. They've been more competitive though. If you've watched the games, more competitive in these games with Brandon Williams in there, playing the lead guard. So D'Angelo Russell's taking a back seat. So I do think Brandon Williams needs to be actually in your player pool, despite the total of this game and the ugliness of this game. Another guy I think that's interesting, that's pretty cheap, is Max Christie. Max Christie's only 4.9K. And again, it's just this team's looking for answers, and he's one of the more gifted offensive and polished offensive players on this team at the moment. They just have nobody, right? Without Anthony Davis, and really PJ Washington is maybe even the second most skilled, but he's questionable for this one. So maybe he doesn't play either. It's Max Christie, right? I mean, that's ugly to say, but it's probably true. So those are the guys I'm interested in as well. So that's it. Those are the guys I'm really kind of considering at this moment. Those are the guys that really stuck out to me as an early look. Again, this will change as injury news happens, as I, notice other things, as I continue to study this slate. But I looked at it for I always look at this for a good, hour and a half, 2 hours before I come on here and, try to really think about who's going to pay off their value and who's in a good spot. And, most importantly, perhaps, where's everyone going to be? Where's the field going to be? And where am I going to make my pivot? And so that's what I come into this trying to give you guys. And I hope you, have some insights from this. But here's the locks I've got so far. These are the guys I'm playing at the moment. Hands down, no doubt about it. Deuce McBride. I got to grab one of the guards in New York to fill in for Jalen Brunson. And for me, it's Deuce McBride. I got to have that certainty that he's that the guy I'm going to pick to fill in is going to produce in their minutes. And between him and Landry Shamet, and now I'm blanking on the other guard that's there. My God, come on, my brain. Between him, Landry Shamet, and Jordan Clarkson. Wow, Jordan Clarkson. He's the only guy I can really truly trust. Giannis. I've got to have Giannis in my lineups here. Kid gloves are off. I'm expecting 70 plus DK points. I don't want to miss it. Jalen Duren up against Andre Drummond in a competitive game. Probably the most fun competitive game on the entire slate. I think he's going to go absolutely monster, have a ton of rebounds. He could put up 20 plus rebounds. It could happen. Absolutely. Jalen Suggs. Probably maybe my hottest take of any of these guys I'm going to have in here. But Jalen Suggs, full allotment of minutes. Going to be kind of a sloppy game against this Brooklyn Nets team. No Paolo. Shifts him into a more central offensive role. I need him to shoot well. And he can absolutely go to the moon. And we just saw it on the 9th of November. He had 41.5 DK points. I'm hoping for a game like that. I will settle just fine for about 30 DK points. And we'll see how that goes. He's only 5.1K though. No one else in that price range really is gonna have that kind of upside, I think. And then my last guy is Muta Diabate. No Kalkbrenner. I love playing centers against Milwaukee. Always have. Against Giannis. I always have. Always will. So I think Diabate is a good bet to pay off his very meager 4.2K salary. But that's going to do it for us, guys. That is your November 14th NBA DFS slate for DraftKings, the main slate. Please do come back. I'm going to be recording again tomorrow night for the NFL. I had a good week, a successful week in NFL. This past week, I was, again, this is the second time I've been so close to taking down the absolute grand prize in the contest that I enter. I'm just hoping I will get there this season. We'll see. Time is running out, but I'm up on the season, so I hope you do join me for that. I'm going to break down week 11 for you guys again tomorrow night. So until next time, I am Keith Cork. Follow me on Twitter at DataDrivenOMS, at DataDrivenOMS. Come join my Discord, our Old Man Squad Discord. Come join me in the rooms there. I'm kind of talking to myself right now, but I'm going to keep at it until people start talking back to me. So until next time, guys, hey, go get that money.